Welcome to Conversations in Higher Ed, where collaboration meets innovation. I'm John Myer on behalf of Rackspace Technology here at EDUCAUSE in Nashville. We're sitting down with leaders who are transforming higher education. Today's conversations, it's about what matters the most, building trust, empowering students, and creating the future of learning. Joining us today is Matt. Matt, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Matt, what do you believe are the biggest challenges leaderships are facing, including CIOs in higher education right now?
So I think there's been a lot of things going on with AI and how we can leverage this data to really maximize the impact on the student journey, but also how we can strategize that and normalize things at scale. I think there have been a lot of things happening on that side of the house where little to no literacy has been done to be able to see how we could leverage that to the extent where data privacy and invasion is one thing, and the risk management and the risk assessment on that also being one thing. So on our end, everything has been locked down for quite some time. With COVID hitting the ground, we had more of a reactionary phase when it came up to leveraging online education in Zoom, but AI came very strong in that end at the end of the COVID. I think there have been a lot of things going on into that world to the fact that now we are starting to enabling those things. So some of the challenges really is about trying to find the right tools that fits your need, to the fact that it's also going to impact student initiatives and I would say the student journey in a more concise way when it comes up to, again, student success, AI integration with some video conferencing platform, for example, a course capture platform. Yeah, AI has been definitely something that is more than a buzzword. It's here to stay.
Do you feel it's a little bit of the unknown with AI on what you don't know and how to utilize it, the skill sets around it, or just the fear that some of the information is not accurate?
It's all of the above, and I think it's all depending on where do you fit in that journey, whether you are a millennial or a Gen Z. Different opinions are around that. People were overutilizing it to the fact that sometimes, yes, indeed, your data has been stolen, but you know, it doesn't really change the game at the end of the day because we are still leveraging those kind of old school methodologies. Change is very slow in the higher education world, and when you're in a public institution like mine, it's even slower.
When you think about AI, do you feel that some of it is not understanding how you can utilize it or where you can utilize it within your institution?
I think so. And I think this is where you need to have some type of train the trainer situation and trying to see where it's actually acceptable to leverage AI and where it's not really such a good tool to do so. Yeah.
Matt, how do you bridge some of the gaps between in-person and online education?
So this is my bread and butter, and this is how I've been known as a positive disruptor in the industry in higher ed, more specifically in the public sector, where you are more and more pushed to do more with less. And so for the past 5 years, again, I was mentioning COVID as a reactionary phase to trying to switch the button into, let's say, Zoom, for example, in Zoom webinar. I've been implementing Zoom rooms and Zoom meetings at scale, powered by Logitech. And this is where I've seen a lot of way that you can teach traditional AV methodology for Zoom rooms. How do I bridge the gap between online audience and in-person is by providing Zoom enabling into the learning management systems. And all of a sudden, you are able to bridge that gap where you provide this equity of experience. And sometimes I even feel that students get more online or from their devices, even though they are in person, rather than sitting on the last row of a dim light, old school lecture hall. I'm very interested in trying to bridge those gaps even on the campus side by leveraging indeed remote learning initiatives.
So you feel that remote learning or remote students are actually getting a better education because remotely versus in person?
I would feel like, because it's a bit like a personal opinion at this point,
Yes.
but I've seen a lot of literature proving that indeed there is more learning retention when people learn in online.
I would feel that's actually reversed because of all the distraction of the outside world, depending on where you are learning or the location. You're at home, you don't have a study to do it in. So there's a lot of outside noise, but it seems that you're suggesting that they get a higher education or a stronger retention to that education remotely because they have to be there. They have to pay attention because
Yep.
they only have a screen. They don't have all the other students, the professor walking around.
That's right. And it's also, again, about that equity of experience. And in matter of fact, I was launching an online educational platform for continuing medical education with the School of Optometry at Berkeley. And I was getting a lot of phenomenal feedback about how we capturing content and actually disperse that into the learning management system. Matter of fact, I call that the Netflix for doctors, where you pretty much let I would look like less like Zoom, if that makes sense.
It would feel less like Zoom
Exactly.
and more of an in-person, like,
Yes.
a remote or teledoctor type learning where you feel like the doctor's in the room with you.
That's it. And so all the engagement, the polls and things like that were done in a way that were very engaging, highly didactic training. And this is where I felt like there were even more engagement online than there is in person. Let's say you're an introvert and you're in a classroom and there's 250 people, right? And because of matter of times or the technology is lacking in these spaces, you're not able to capture feedback in a live conversation. So let's say you as a teacher, I'm the student, and I'm sitting in the middle of those 250 seats, right? Will I ask the questions? There is never stupid questions, right? But if you're an introvert and you're learning about certain things, you might not have the guts to ask the question. But when Zoom is on, it looks like the personality is unable to be able to ask this question, and the faculty member will be able to see that in the chat and assess it and address it eventually immediately, or just wait for the end of the lecture and do a Q&A session at the end of the day.
Actually, that's a valid point. Given that we're all in social media, you find out you comment or chat a lot more
Yes.
behind a device versus in person because you don't want to feel like your question is stupid, but yet there might be 20 other people in the room that have the same question and feel the same way. This is an encouragement to ask that question, and there's more interaction. There's more immediate feedback that professor can help and educate. And since going with what you said is it's a stronger and higher learning remotely because you're getting that one-on-one with the professor. You don't feel bad. Now you'll ask the next question knowing that you didn't have a stupid one and somebody might plus one it. You're like, yeah, this is great.
Another thing that I think is very engaging is the fact that you could reverse the classroom, if I could say it like this, which pretty much you learn the content online and you go sit for conversation rather than going to a lecture hall to listen to a monologue, right? I'm just thinking like, oh my God, how many times you sit in this lecture hall and you just wait for the course to be over, right? Imagine if all of a sudden you just switch everything to online. And that lecture, that monologue, as I call it, again, I'm not trying to be pejorative when I'm saying this, it's just that could be another way to be more engaging. You reverse the classroom, learn the content online, and be ready to discuss actively in the classroom instead.
This is a good learning experience. It challenges people to thought process what I interpret from the lecture versus what others interpret. We could all come to a census and tell like, okay, this is what it is. And rather than having a test from what I read in a book, we can have something based off the discussion and what makes us all give our points to the whole lecture.
Absolutely.
I like that. So Matt, what partnerships or vendors or even alliances have you used to actually lower costs or some of the shared sustainability throughout the organization for in-person or remote learning?
Absolutely. So I've been leveraging various committee of practices. The largest one on my end, because I'm on the educational technology side, more on the AV side of the house and IT, is HETMA. So it stands for Higher Education Technology Manager Alliance. It's a global group committee of practice with various leaders from various universities around the world. We are 4,000 people strong, trying to add to up to 10,000 right now. And I like to call that as like a kind of mentor-mentee relationship happening within. And there is a lot of manufacturers indeed being sponsors. Just to name a few, we have the large trons, as I call them, Extron, Crestrons. We have Panasonic, we have LG, Logitech, Zoom as well, and many, many more. I think we have about 25 sponsors as we speak right now. And so we are actually meeting on a yearly basis at Infocom, along with EDUCAUSE and ISC. And so there's about, I would say, 20 people on the floor right now at EDUCAUSE to engage with some vendors and learn also about what's going on. How do I lower the cost? This is where, again, I am bringing those relationships that I've had by various NDAs, whether it's through Zoom or Logitech, for example. And this is where when I'm being presented with a project, let's say I have a consultant hire for or a large capital project and I'm being served a code, I'm just going to pick up the phone and call the reps from Samsung, from Logitech, and this and that. And what I'm going to tell them is like, hey, call your bid desk, tell me what else you can do about it. And this is where, indeed, I see a lot of costs being reduced. But again, you have to have the guts to just cross that line by saying, I'm going to challenge this code and I'm going to see what else we can do. Because again, it's all about this empowerment of doing more with less.
Doing more or less. It seems to be a recurring theme for the last year.
Bet, yeah.
You're trying to get a lot done, less people, less resources, but still provide the same outcome, the education, and the feeling that this is, higher ed as well.
Absolutely.
Matt, my last question is, how do you balance innovation with processes, with process discipline, the need for long-term support and solutions, though?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about finding a small cohort of people, trying to pilot some of those things. Again, like that Zoom Room project, for example, with Logitech didn't come overnight. I was able to try some gear and trying to find 2 to 3 cohorts of people being able to try that in the classroom. And all of a sudden, from a prototype, this room went straight into production. So I would say find a small cohort to try to gauge a little bit of that scope, normalize and scale, and then repeat. This is how I would approach that things.
Matt, thank you so much for your time.
No problem. Very grateful to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, everybody, thanks to Matt for sharing his insights with us. I'm John Myer here at EDUCAUSE. Until next time.